Before we get to episode 157, I'd like to ask for a small favor. If you're doing any shopping this holiday season, I would really appreciate it if you used my Amazon affiliate link. Go to iCantCU.com/Amazon. That'll take you to the Amazon.com homepage. Do your shopping, check out as normal. I will earn a small commission. It doesn't cost you anything more, and I really do appreciate it. Again, that's iCantCU.com/Amazon. Thank you so much.
From Studio B in Swarthmore, this is the I Can't See You podcast with David. It's like blind people for dummies.
Hello there, and welcome to episode 157 of the I Can't See You podcast. My name is David, at David Benj on all the socials. I really appreciate you joining me for this episode, and I double-checked. I'm sure it's episode 157. If you didn't join me for episode 156, there was a lot of confusion on my part because I tried to use my eyes to read something and got the wrong number. I guess I could use that excuse if I'm ever dialing a phone number. Do people still do that? I actually have to punch them in? Usually you just say it now, right? Or tap it on the screen. But I do appreciate you joining me for this episode of the I Can't See You podcast. And I have a few things to talk about. I'm thawing out right now because I've been outside with Ziggy for about an hour today, off and on. It's in the upper 30s, low 40s here in suburban Philadelphia. He loves the cold weather. He will lay out there and just sit there and watch birds fly by and leaves blow by and all sorts of things like that. In the summer, he would just go out, go to the bathroom, and come back in. He didn't want anything to do with being out there unless there was shade somewhere. And it's kind of funny. Our backyard is fenced, and on the one side of the yard, it gets there's a shadow up until about 11:45 or so. And so when he would go out there to either go to the bathroom or just want to stay outside for a minute, he would go over to that shaded area, which, by that point, between 11:30 and 11:45, there's only 6 inches to a foot of shadow. He would lay in that shadow part and either chew on the grass or grab a ball and chew on it, whatever he was doing. He would lay in the shade. He just doesn't like the warmth, which kind of makes me worry because I am not enjoying the cold so far. And like I said, I've been outside today for about an hour, and it's just killing me. Everything hurts, and I can't wait to move to where it's warm. And I don't think Ziggy's going to like it. So we'll have to see how that goes. We'll see. We'll see what happens there. I don't think he's going to win out on that one, though. Well, I do have a couple of things to talk about, and they kind of tie in a little bit. And I'll start off with a fantasy sports update, and it was a miserable week for me. And the only saving grace to losing in fantasy football was it was so horrible, there wasn't anything I could have done to have won. I only lost by about 26 points, but I couldn't have done anything more. I picked up Taysom Hill from the Saints as a quarterback for this week because my main quarterback is Jalen Hurts. I didn't play him because Jalen Hurts assured me on Wednesday of last week that, he was going to play. Not me personally. I saw him on the TV, on the news that night, and he said, I'm going to play. And Thursday came, and he was still questionable, but they said he was still going to play. So I left him in there and didn't play Taysom Hill, who didn't have a great game, but fantasy-wise, he did. And, so I missed out on 23 or 24 points from him. So I picked up Tua from Miami, and he got me 17 or so points. So even the difference there, the 7 points wouldn't have done it. There was nothing I could have done. So that's the only thing that I guess is good because I can't stand when you make a mistake and play the wrong guy and then you end up losing. So I lost there. I also lost in hockey and am now in second place. I'm tied on record with who's in first, and I believe it's Nick. Yes, that Nick, the perennial champ of the football. Again, we're both 5 wins, 2 losses, but I have far fewer points. In both, I have a lot fewer points. And in fact, going back to football for a second, I have, there's 12 teams in the league. I may be somewhere in the middle, maybe 6th or 7th in number of points. And again, that only plays into a tiebreaker when you have the same record. So with seedings for the playoffs, which start not with this coming week for week 15, that's when that'll kick in. So just to recap my football season, I started off 6-0, and I was flying high, and now I'm 8-5. So I've come crashing back to earth. So 6-0 in the first 6 games, 2-5 in the last 7. I have had a boatload of injuries, and we'll see what happens. I can only take credit for causing one loss out of those out of those losses, trying to do too much. So we'll see how it goes this weekend. And while we're talking about football and hockey and sports, my friend Mark texted me the other night, and he sent me a picture. He said his brother-in-law was at the Flyers game. And again, I'm in suburban Philadelphia. So I was a Flyers season ticket holder for many years. The number there was a dozen, I think. Back right before the Flyers got Eric Lindros. And he said his brother-in-law was going to be sitting in a box, and Eric Lindros was supposed to be there. So my friend Mark sent his Lindros jersey, to get it signed in case he was there. And then he sent me a picture. And I asked Liz to describe the picture. And she said, it's an old guy with a kid. So the kid was, Mark's relative. And the old guy was Eric Lindros. And I texted Mark back. I said, I just asked Liz to describe this picture for me. And I, said exactly what I just said. And he said, well, he's younger than us. I said, no, he's younger than you. He's much younger than me, because Mark is a handful of years younger than me. I want to say 5 or 6 years. So I just thought that was funny. So, and then it made me think back to, when I had the season tickets, and think back how exciting those teams were. And then thinking back to that horrible day where, maybe about 20 feet from where I was sitting, Vladimir Konstantinov put Lindros in another dimension. And I guess he was never, maybe after that when he got back to almost where he was. And then I was also at that playoff game when Scott Stevens sent him back to that same dimension. And I guess after that, he was never the same. He was still good, but he was never as great. But that was sad how that his career really got cut short because of the injuries like that. Because he was just so exciting and so much fun to watch. And again, I never saw that great going to the games, but it was always fun to be down there. And I was amazed the last time Liz and I went to a game, which I guess was right before COVID, how intense not just the games were, but there wasn't a moment to just relax for a second. During the stoppages, they played the music really loud and the lights are flashing on the boards. And again, I don't see much, but when there's glare involved and lights like that, I saw that, and I was exhausted after that game. I know the Flyers won. I can't remember who they played. I think they played the Rangers, and it's always fun to beat the Rangers, but I was just exhausted. And again, I saw so little of it. So that is making me think, and I know I mentioned this a month or two ago, in doing an episode of White Canes Connect, we talked to a guy named Party Gill, who is based in the UK, and he is a big supporter of Leicester City. And he was telling me after we got done recording about the headset that they give you when you're visually impaired and you go to a game, a Premier League game, and the description that you get for the game. And I thought, man, that is great. So I haven't checked into it, but once I get a minute, I'm going to call some of the teams, local teams, so Phillies, Flyers, Sixers, Eagles, to see if there's something like that available here. Oh, sorry, and can't forget the Union, because they had a great season too. I know it's soccer and it's MLS soccer, which is probably like second or third division in Europe. But it would be cool if there was something like that. And I remember hearing something about one of the leagues or one of the local teams doing allowing the radio broadcast to be in time with live action if you're at the stadium. I know there's usually a delay when you are listening on the radio at home, or if it's over some sort of digital device, there's usually a delay. So once I find out that and I get some more information, I want to have, I want to talk about that, and then maybe I'll have Party on here. And he can talk about how it is when he goes to, and he's a huge fan of Leicester City. He had traveled to Moscow when they had a game there in either UEFA Champions League or Europa. So I'd be interested to compare and see how things are, because that's one thing I really miss is going to sporting events, and doing that. So. And that takes me into, while we're talking about Described, that segues into, I was listening to an episode of That Real Blind Tech Show. And Brian, who is the commissioner of the All Blind Fantasy League, was talking about Paramount Plus and some shows that were described, all three of which I watch. And it was Bull, Magnum PI, and SWAT. Now, SWAT and Bull I watch on my own. If Jane is home, she will watch SWAT and Bull with me. But for the most part, I watch those on my own. And we all watch Magnum PI. When I say we all, Liz and I, and if Jane's home, she'll watch it. Jacob will take a peek in, but he usually doesn't sit and watch stuff like that with us. So after hearing Brian talk about that, I thought, oh, you know what? I'm going to try on my TV. I know it was some cockamamie way I had to put it on. It wasn't just like hitting a button and getting audio description like it is for Netflix or Amazon Prime. So I thought, I'm going to try it. So I was going back and forth via text with Frank, who is Pug Posse in the football and Ice Pugs in hockey. And we were going back and forth. And I told him he has a different cable service than us up where he lives on Long Island. And he said, there's some way of doing it with separate audio programming and stuff like that. And then I remembered, after he said that, I actually did an episode way back, and I'll put the link in the show notes because I don't remember what episode number it is now. But I actually I had to refer to my own show notes page to get audio description on. So I found the page on my phone, and then I did it on my TV. I did what it said, and I got audio description. So I'm watching Bull, and the show that's on before Bull, and I have no idea what it is, but it was being described. Now, it was great that it was described. The only problem was it was only coming out of the left channel. I always sit to the right of the screen, so it would have been nice had it come out of the right. It would have been nice had it come out of both, but, beggars can't be choosers, I guess, right? So I got all excited. I figured, okay, I'm going to watch Bull with the, described audio, which is great because there's a lot of things that I miss. Some things where there's long stretches where there's no dialogue and somebody's just walking around. You wonder, I wonder what's going on, or what are they looking at, or what are they doing? What did that text message say? All things that I miss when I watch by myself, and I miss a lot. And it's come to the point where I usually don't watch The Simpsons on my own because there's so many things that I end up missing when I watch it on my own. I usually save those for when Jane comes home, or if Jacob wants to watch, I'll put it on and he will describe it to me. I don't know if The Simpsons are described or not. I haven't tried. So I get all excited. I figure, okay, Bull's going to be described so that whatever that show was before ends, and the little CBS logo comes on with their little 5-note musical thing, stinger, and then Bull comes on, and I'm like, okay, this is just the previews. There's still no description. I'll just let it keep going out of the one little tiny speaker on the left, and I'm listening, and we're getting into it, and it comes on. Then the opening credits come on like 10 minutes into the show. Still nothing, and I'm thinking, I'm not going to keep listening to this because I want to hear it better than I'm hearing it now. So, I took off the audio, second audio program so I could at least hear it in stereo. And, if I miss something, I miss something, so be it. It's also very cool when you have that second audio program on and you put Monday Night Football on, because then that comes in Espanol. So I guess that might be a way to learn Spanish while watching. But but it's not described because I guess the announcers are supposed to be describing it, right? So Bull wasn't there. So I figured, okay, well, I was watching it live. I tried again when I watched it, and I didn't watch the whole thing. When I tried the second audio program before it recorded. I wasn't sure if the second audio program records when you record a show. That's why I watched some of it live, and then I stopped and just watched it a day or two later. And then I tried it again, of course, once it was recorded, and it still didn't work. So I tried it with SWAT because Brian said SWAT was also described. It wasn't, at least for me. But again, he was watching on Paramount Plus. So that is something that I'm going to try because I want to get Paramount Plus because SEAL Team has moved from CBS to Paramount Plus, which, I mean, I guess it's better than them canceling it, which is usually what happens to any TV show that I like. So that tells you my taste in TV, I guess, right? And it's not just me. It's, Liz and Jane, and I'm guessing Jacob too, although Jacob doesn't really watch too much TV. So again, talking to Frank about this stuff and talking about things on HBO and things on other cable channels, a lot of them aren't described. A lot of them don't have audio description. And it is just so brutal that, everything's got closed captioning these days, but, no audio description. And that's what makes Netflix and Amazon Prime so awesome. And I haven't tried Apple, so I'll tell you my plan in a second. I've been watching, and I think I mentioned it, there's a couple of foreign shows that I love on Netflix. One was Lupin, which was a French show. I think it was made for Netflix, though. And another one is called Money Heist. And I'm not sure how they got that from La Casa de Papel, which means the literal translation is paper house. But I love that show, and I love the other one. The other one was only, 8 or 10 episodes. Money Heist has been, I'm on season 3 now. I watched the first one, and then then it wasn't on for a bit, and then I guess the second and third season came out pretty quickly after. But I absolutely love it. But as I mentioned in previous episodes, if I ever see those people in another show, I'll never recognize them because, it's dubbed. I guess when a show is foreign language, you can't both describe it and do the subtitles because that would be too much information. There's no way that I guess they can do that. And maybe at some point I'll have Roy Samuelson back on and he can talk about that. I had him back on in spring of 2020, and he does a lot of described programming for a lot of shows. And so it's, so I don't like the fact that you have to listen to the dubbed version because just like back in the day, and it is better than back in the day, but, some of the lines are still forced and they're pushed in there and, they're spoken a little faster. It's not great. I would rather hear the foreign language being spoken and then whatever they're saying being translated to me. But again, I don't think you can do that and talk about, what else is going on. In other shows like Jack Ryan, like I mentioned previously, it's mostly in English with subtitles. So in that instance, they do read whatever the subtitles say as well as describe it. So it's a little bit different with that. But again, when you have a show or a movie that's all subtitles, I guess they can't do it. So Frank gave me this idea after we were talking about the described audio and Paramount Plus and whatnot. And he didn't know, he doesn't have Paramount Plus. At least at the time of the time we were talking, he didn't. And he'll correct me if I'm wrong. I know you will, Frank. His wife works for the cable company, so I doubt he'll get that, but he'll tell me and I'll fill you in next week. So when Brian had mentioned it and I had, Frank and I were going back and forth about it, Frank said, maybe you should do encourage you listeners, especially you sighted listeners, to try out described audio. And it's very easy on Amazon and on Netflix. Again, just have to navigate to a menu, change a setting, and boom, you're done. And he suggested, and I like this idea, that I pick a title, and if you want to watch it and try it out, and again, you could try any title, but pick something and just give it a try and see what you think of a described show or movie. Now, one of the things, and I can't believe that Liz and I haven't watched this yet, is Coming to America. Liz and I love the first one. The second one, which is the number 2 in the middle. Again, I just can't believe we haven't watched the second one. The first one we've watched probably 100 times. And, all I could think of now as I'm thinking about it is, aha, aha. So if you haven't seen that, that's Eddie Murphy doing a Jewish guy telling jokes in a in the barbershop. But it came out, I think it came out almost a year ago, and we haven't seen it, but it is described. Frank had mentioned. So I am going to watch that. I don't know that I'm going to watch it for next week's episode, but I am going to watch that. So give it a try. One thing that, Frank and I have talked about, and I've talked about it with other folks, if sighted folks start to use it, and he had mentioned that an article or something he saw somewhere, people were saying, it's like listening to an audiobook, because it really is. You get the dialogue from the actors, and you get, the description of what's going on by another voice. And it's usually really good. Now, some of them now are using automated description. So they feed in, a script, and then it's read out that way. And some of it's pretty good. I've actually thought about getting software to do that, where you could crank out a lot of podcasts if you just wrote up a script, basically a blog post, and then had this AI voice read it. It's crazy how lifelike it sounds, like a human voice. But I often thought that, if a sighted person listened, they thought, hey, this is pretty good. And just today, when I was listening to whatever I was listening to, 1010 Wins, KYW, whatever, there was a commercial for one episode. I forget exactly what they called it, but it was basically a podcast episode that was a drama. And it was a drama, so there's descriptive services. It's basically going back to the old radio shows of the, before TV, 30s, 40s, maybe 20s, I'm not sure. But give it a try. Again, doesn't cost anything more to do it, and let me know what you think. And I've also kicked this around as far as the descriptions go. I love Ted Lasso, which I think I've mentioned. And in fact, for my birthday last month, I got a Roy Kent jersey. Pardon me, I misspoke. I meant to say a Roy Kent kit. For some reason, they call jerseys kits in the UK. Not quite sure why, but I do have it, and I I love it. The number 6, it's the blue jersey with the with the reddish stripe, I guess it is. I can never tell if it's red or orange, but if you watch the show, you know what I mean. So I have that. It's short sleeve, so I won't be wearing that until it's around 90 degrees outside. Or when I move to someplace tropical or semi-tropical. So, and I'll talk about that in a minute. So I thought, one of the things that I was thinking about doing was starting to review not just a show, but also the description, and adding another episode per week. Just to do reviews. So if you don't like the reviews, you don't have to, if you don't like to hear about my fantasy football and fantasy hockey, you're kind of stuck with it in this show. But with something like that, if you don't like it, you just don't listen to it. But if you want to hear what I thought of, Ted Lasso or something else, obviously that would, you could listen to that. And again, I'll review the whole show, not just the audio description of it, but whether I like the show, and maybe we'll even get Liz involved, and she can she could watch it separately. Yeah, well, never mind. I said that out loud, and then if we don't watch something together, she watches, cooking shows and whatnot. So I wonder if those are described. That would be interesting. I guess kind of by the host as they're cooking, right? Unless they say, see how it looks, then all the blind folks are out. So I thought about doing that as well. And so that may come as well. Just got a lot of stuff going on to start right now, but that's one of the goals for 2022, which isn't that many weeks away. We're halfway there almost, halfway through December. Actually, tomorrow is the 10th of December, the 44th anniversary, speaking of 44th anniversary of my bar mitzvah. So, yeah, Eddie Murphy would have definitely said aha for that. Fun time was had by all, from what everybody told me, but it was a lot of work for me. Back on track to the audio description. So that is what I've been kicking around, and I would love to see, and when I do get Paramount Plus, I'll check to see if SEAL Team also is described, because that is, for the most part with SEAL Team, even though they go stretches without a lot of stuff going on. Obviously, with SEAL Team, during gun battles and whatnot, it's kind of like chaos. But usually, one of the guys will say, "Oh, there's a sniper on that that building to your left, or at 3:00 or whatever." So you kind of have an idea of what's going on. Again, with any show, when there's not a lot of dialogue, and during those gun battles and things like that, there's not. You're kind of in the dark, literally. So I'm interested to watch that. I don't know what I've been waiting for Paramount Plus. I guess I've been waiting for episodes to build up so I have a few and then can cancel it, because I don't want to pay for 27 different pluses. I don't want Disney Plus. Paramount Plus, okay, yeah. And I don't want ESPN Plus. I don't know why they don't come up with better names, but whatever, that's not on me. So we'll see how that goes, but I like the idea of doing that. And as a side note, I am an affiliate for Apple. I'm an affiliate for Amazon, so I can push those. If you like it and you sign up with maybe my link, obviously then would also support the podcast and throw a little money my way, and help pay for the hosting costs and some of the other stuff that we pay for here, doing this show. And it's not a lot, but it's still something, and it'd be nice to recoup that. Now, I know you probably thought I forgot last week's great new segment, but here it is.
Blind People for Dummies Tip of the Week.
As you can see, I still spared no expense, but I did tweak it a little bit. So this week's tip of the week, and I was talking to Keystone Chapter President Harriet Go last night while we were doing a recording for White Canes Connect, and give that a listen and let me know what you think of the segment in there with holiday greetings, because I actually got some music in there, and I got it pretty good. I think I did a pretty decent job on that, and I do a lot of editing on those shows. White Canes Connect. You can find them, Apple, Spotify, and Amazon for now. Hopefully the others soon. But Harriet and I were talking. I said, "Do you have any good tips of the week?" I told her what I was thinking, and I shouldn't have said that because, that kind of said, "Oh, she said, that's a good one." So here it is. You do not need to change your lexicon when talking to someone who is blind. When you see someone who is blind, it's okay to say, "It's nice to see you again." Because a blind person's going to say that, even though they probably can't see you. That's half the name of this podcast, right? But it's okay to say that. It's also okay to say, "Did you see that game the other night?" Or "Did you see the news? How horrible, blah, 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 blah." It's okay. Don't say, "Hey, did you hear the news the other night?" I do listen to the news too on, my Amazon devices when the server isn't out. And just let's take a quick side note on that. What do you think happened there? Think the Chinese got mad because they were boycotting the Olympics, the diplomatic boycott of the Olympics, or is it an actual issue from something else? Sorry, let's move on. So again, when you see someone, it's okay. Hey, did you see that bird just fly by? No, I certainly didn't, but, tell me what happened. You don't have to change your words to speak to me or any other blind person. It's not going to offend us if you say, did you see, that show? Did you, whatever. You don't have to change it. It's nice to see you again. It's always nice to see you again. That means more than actually just seeing, because you can close your eyes. And I used to think that I would not say those words because I really couldn't see the person. Hey, it's nice to, be with you again. That sounds a little creepy though. So I thought, you know what? And after, being part of the NFB for a while, they said, no, it's okay. It's okay to use those words around other blind folks. And again, we use them all the time. In all our meetings, everybody says, hey, it's good to see everyone here again today. So it is. You don't have to worry about using those words in front of blind people. So again, don't change your lexicon when you're talking to blind folks. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens at this month's meeting for the Keystone chapter, because it's our 30th anniversary. Don't tell anybody, but it's actually our 31st anniversary, but we couldn't celebrate 30th last year because of COVID. We're meeting in person again, so we're having a party this weekend to coincide with our Christmas party. And I'm not quite sure. Liz is going to drive in because we have to pick up some pretzels that somebody's donating, Philly Pretzel Factory, I believe. So we're going to pick those up, but I'm not sure. I may actually try and find my way home because my SEPTA key card doesn't work. And I thought it would be an interesting experiment to go to one of those kiosks that, are basically a touch screen. Somewhere on them is a headphone jack, but of course it's not a lightning jack. So I've got to have another set of headphones on me. But I thought that would be a good episode. So I don't know if that's going to happen or not. We'll see what happens. I'll make up my mind. Either tomorrow or Saturday. The meeting's Saturday morning at the Penn Museum, a place I love. And if you ever come to Philadelphia, if not in the Philadelphia area, make some time to go over there. If you like any kind of archaeological and historical things. They've got some stuff in there that's over 5,000 years old, so it's not new. They've got stuff from China, Japan, ancient Egypt, ancient Rome, things like that. And I've done a few episodes, and I hope that we're going to do it soon. But we're going to have an episode of White Canes Connect. We're going to have Kevin on to talk about the accessible aspect of that they sometimes have for folks who are blind and visually impaired, where we get to actually touch the stuff, and to touch something that old is just incredible. The feeling, not how it actually feels, but the feeling you get to think somebody touched this and worked on this, so long ago, 2,000 years if it's Rome, a little longer. The one thing that I touched from Egypt was over 4,000 years old. So, some things you can't touch, but there's a lot that you can, and it is just awesome to feel the hieroglyphics and stuff like that. So I'm looking forward to that. That's coming up this weekend. But that's all I have for this episode of the iCantCU podcast. I do appreciate you listening. As always, if you've got questions, comments, show ideas, please reach out, 646-926-6350. Leave your name and town. By leaving a message, you have up to 3 minutes, by the way. By leaving the voice message, you are saying it's okay for me to use what you say on an upcoming episode. And I promise not to edit it if it's, unless it's, you've got a big pause in there. I'm not going to take out your words, even if they're bad. So let me hear from you, please. You can also reach out via email, iCantCUpodcast@gmail.com, iCantCUpodcast@gmail.com. And, again, let me know what you think. You can also rate, review, and, tell your friends and family about the show. And that would be awesome. I'd appreciate that. And again, show notes are available at iCantCU.com/157. Hopefully, if you were looking for last week's show notes, you found them, because I forgot to edit that once I published the show, and that was just a big debacle on my part, and a little embarrassed by that. But hopefully you found them. Again, iCantCU is only 7 letters long. It sounds like a whole sentence, but it's only 7 letters. iCantCU.com/157, or where these show notes will be. And again, I'll have a link to the way you can put on audio description for Verizon Fios. It's 2 things you have to do. The separate audio program is one thing, and then you have to go under accessibility. But I'll link to that previous show notes page on how to do that, and that'll help you out. And again, I do appreciate you listening. I hope you're staying safe. I hope you're well, and I'll talk to you next week.
Thank you for listening to the I Can't See You podcast with David. Please rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen. And don't forget to share the podcast with your friends.